Welcome back to Baker Rebuilds. Today I'm working on an oil catch can for my 2006 Dodge Charger RT. Watch this video to see how I do it with the universal kit. Some of the benefits that I'm looking for is less blow-by and a whole lot less oil in the intake manifold. Today we're putting in an Evil Energy Catch oil can. Come check this thing out. So this thing's pretty clean, has your outflow, inflow, and the fact that it's an oil catch can clearly labeled. I also like the fact that it comes with a dipstick. That makes this device super handy so that you don't have to pull off the can every time you want to just simply see how much oil's in there. Separates just like that. This piece in the top, you screw this out, and this is where you put the, or at least half of this, included steel wool inside of this area here, so that as it comes in, that will cool down the oil vapors and catch any particulate that may be in your engine. This thing came with a bunch of parts, which is pretty exciting. Has a 3/8 hose adapter and a 1/4 inch hose adapter. Came with 2 hose clamps, 4 small O-rings, and 1 large replacement O-ring for your catch can, as well as 2 bolts for mounting hardware. It came with a mounting bracket, which is just kind of an L shape with 4 holes in it. Give you some options, as this is a universal kit. Came with about 28 to 30 inches of 300 PSI 3/8 inch fuel hose. So that should hopefully be long enough for me to connect it to both places that I need. And it came with a sticker. So stickers are fun. So since this is a universal kit, it's kind of up to us to mount it in the engine bay wherever we want to. All right, to get this thing ready to go, we're gonna pull the can apart. I left my wool inside of there. I'm gonna separate this little area that holds the steel wool or whatever you're using as a filtration device. This top piece also turns out. Just mine doesn't because it's stuck. Center piece also turns out. So you have everything to work with. Yeah, as you can see, there's definitely way too much steel wool. So I think I'm gonna cut this thing about in half, and that should be pretty good. Now my half that I cut off, I'm gonna tuck down into this little guy. I've got it pretty tight, but where this is filtering just oil vapors, I think that'll be just fine. You can see the steel mesh inside of there. Now we're gonna separate our can. I'm gonna screw this back up into the lid where it goes. I'm gonna screw my can back on now that we're done on the inside of that. Now, we need to attach one of our fitting options. So let's take a look at what kind of fittings we're dealing with on the engine. We'll remove the cover by just pulling up. Now, the hoses that we need to deal with for this catch can to connect into are right here. This one coming off, this one going back in. should already hopefully be a little loose. But if not, you can use a pair of channel locks to help spin it. Not pry it off, just spin it to break it free. And then it should come off a lot easier. In theory. Ooh. Sheesh. So for my 06 Dodge Charger, these larger fittings are a little bit big. So I'm gonna go down to the smaller ones. That's them side by side for comparison. Pretty big difference. For my application, I think these smaller ones are gonna be the ticket. Now with these fittings that I'm putting on the outside of the oil catch can, we wanna use a little bit of PTFE tape. This will help seal up the threads and ensure that it doesn't leak. Since righty-tighty is the way that this fitting tightens, you'll want to wrap it starting from the top in a clockwise rotation. You want to do 3 to 5 wraps. Wrapping it that way makes it so that when you tighten the fitting in, it keeps your thread tape tight. Now we're going to put that in, put our second one in. All right, in order to tighten these fittings up, you can use a 19mm wrench or a 3/4 inch wrench. 19 and 3/4 are the same size. So when I was initially looking at mounting this oil catch can, however you say it, I had a few positions that I was thinking about. I was thinking I could mount it over here somewhere so that my hoses could line up and just hit it right here, maybe back here or something. But I definitely wanted to be able to get my cover back on just so I can maintain a clean factory look as long as possible, assuming I don't put a supercharger on anytime soon. So the only other option that I seem to be left with, since being over here by the ABS stuff didn't seem to work at all, is right here up front. I think I'm gonna go about right here. So you'll notice that the 2 holes on the bracket are the same size for the back of the oil catch can. They line up. Same with these 2 holes to try and give you options, but this is just a generic metal bracket. So what I'm gonna try and do is cut it shorter, probably about where that Sharpie line is. I didn't put that there, someone else did, but I think it'll actually be about right for what I wanna do. And then I'm going to bend the bracket up so that I can drill 2 holes right here, tap this with the correct corresponding tap to the bolts that I picked up, and end up mounting the oil catch can right here. We got some fab work to do, so let's get busy. Ooh, hot. Now we're gonna pull the plastic off since it's kind of just melting to it anyway. Ooh, fancy. All right, now we've got it cut shorter. We rounded our edges nice. We cleaned up these surfaces because they were a little bit catchy to the touch. Didn't want any of that, so we got that cleaned up. So now this will fit better in the spot. Let's see, I think I'm gonna go right here. Right there all the way back. But now we need to bend this, which means I need to take more of that off then. So this is why test fitting is important. Now when you're doing this kind of work, it's a good idea to wear gloves because this metal will heat up, and it's a good idea to wear safety glasses, or at least have some kind of glasses on so that your eyes are protected from the shavings flying off. But I think we're good to go ahead and mark and drill our holes. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and also cut off this end piece. All right, I'm back. Got that trimmed off. Now I've got my 4 mounting holes. 2 for up here, 2 for the oil catch can. All right, guys, I'm putting my bracket in where I need it, and then I'm measuring how much is sticking out so that I can mark my holes top side and get them drilled. I'm going to drill these holes about 5/16. I'm starting with my front one so that I can adjust the bracket if need be to line up the back one. See how we did, shall we? It's pretty lined up, maybe just a touch low. Really, when it comes to fabrication, is patience and just making sure you get it right for what your needs are. Now you can see with just a minor modification, my hole's nice and lined up. Since this is a universal kit, I went to Lowe's and I picked up 4 hose clamps so that I knew I was good to go. I didn't realize it came with 2, but it does come with 2. 1/4-inch washers, kind of a bigger panel washer that'll look good on there, and a 1/4-inch by 20 stainless screw so that the hardware doesn't oxidize and look crappy after like a year. I need a 1/4 20 tap. If you want to do something similar and you don't have any taps, you don't need to go get a whole kit like this of taps and dies. You can just go pick up an individual tap. And it's important when you're tapping to use something in the form of a lubricant. You also want to keep this as straight up and down as possible. And if you can't twist it easily with one hand like this, work it backwards and hit those threads a few times. And the deeper you go, I tend to do that anyway, just so that I slowly tap my threads, get a good clean result, and I'm happy with the finished product. Once you're all the way through and it spins nice and easy, back it out. Having one of these Harbor Freight little vices comes in handy too, all the time. All right, guys, if you look at this piece right here, where I'm putting my mounting bracket, you can tell that it's not quite level. It's angled upward a little bit. So in order for my oil catch can to sit about level, I'm gonna have to bend my bracket a little bit past 90 degrees. So we'll see how close we can get that. Gonna give this another cleanup. All right, now you can see our bracket is not quite a 90 degree, it's a little bit further. So for the hardware that came with the Evil Energy oil catch can, it looks like I'll need a 5/16 wrench for the nut and a 5/32 Allen bit or Allen key for the bolt. Now, anytime you're working with stainless hardware, you want to be sure to put some anti-seize. I can't get... Don't do what I did and trap your wrench in there, because that's not fun. I was thinking I had used the closed end to hold the nut, because that would make it sure easier to put it in there, line up the bolt and thread it in. And it was a lot easier until I realized that doing it that way made it to where I couldn't get the wrench out at all. All right. Okay. I like that. We got our bolts in. They're not hitting the oil catch can itself. They're tightened up. That's why it smelled like butter. Freaking popcorn bag. It's a good idea to check your bolts, make sure they thread through just fine when you've tapped new holes. I'm gonna open our washers that we got from Lowe's here. We only need 2 of them though, so 4 can go in the spare parts bin. Set my oil catch can down in. There it is. Now before I tighten the other one, start this one. She is mounted. Not quite level. So I'm gonna see if I can't just go. All right, you can see that I've got my wire going behind the catch oil can there. Got it mounted, tightened up. It's pretty level. All right, guys, I only have so much hose, so I'm gonna run my straight line first from the outside of the oil catch can to the PCV valve. Then I can see how much is left to make this run and hopefully not have it kinking up or anything. I'm also going to use a little bit of heat so that the ends of my hoses are a little more flexible and expand a little bit to go on easier. When you're heating this stuff up, you want to keep moving around, and when it starts to smoke like that, see a little bit coming off, you don't want to apply any more heat than that. How tight is it on this guy? Fits that nice and beautifully. I ended up going to the store and picking up a few more parts because this 3/4 inch hose will just fit this so much better. All right, guys, I'm switching out one of my 3/8 fittings for 1/2 inch. Hose clamps on the end of this. I'm gonna get it on there real good. Just come out here. We do want to come all right. Another hose clamp. Nice straight run. And we'll tighten our hose clamps. We're gonna grab another hose clamp, put it on. I'm gonna come in here and slide on this guy. But I ended up going with a PEX Shark Bite 3/4 to 1/2 inch adapter. So this nub right here is for our engine cover. We want this to pretty much stay just inside of that. Now has our elbow. Should have put this hose clamp on beforehand, but in case you didn't know, you can just unscrew it all the way, separate it, get it on, and then put it back. Guess it doesn't hurt to just put it on. Yoink, like that. And we can. Boom. Alright. Tighten our last two 3/8 hose clamps. So what we ended up with is 1/2 inch hose running from the PCV inlet in feed back into the intake off of the out of the catch oil can. We used a PEX 3/4 to 1/2 inch adapter. Got that at Lowe's so that I could do a hard plastic 90-degree right there and keep my hose more straight so that it doesn't collapse like my old one did. That should still be under our cover and everything. Let's get the cover back on, make sure that fits. Oh, it doesn't. So as you can see, our cover's actually hitting down on these hoses right there. Since I've already ran my lines and I like how they look, and the cover is really just aesthetics, I think I'm gonna trim the cover. No turning back after this, Daniel. I did a rough cut. Try and put this where it goes. It's really it does fit, but there's still just the ever little bit of pressure on there. So I'm gonna take a little more out of my top left side here. Yay, fab work. Little by little. It's still touching it, like just ever so slightly. Dang. I might do weird, but I don't do lazy, so here we go. Well, that's my cleanest edge so far, so I hope it works this time because it will look good. This could work. That would also be great. Oh, hey. No, there's enough room for the hose. That went on a lot easier. Huh, go figure. Yeah. Nice. All right, guys, we got it installed. I modified my cover just a little bit so that the hoses could go under and the cover would still fit on. It's all in and looks pretty clean. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you want to check out the Evil Energy Catch Oil can yourself, there's a link to Amazon in the description below. Go ahead and see if it's right for you. I'm going to do an update video in a few months and see what kind of things it's pulling out, see how it's doing, see how it's performing. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm like the king of terrible outros. There's a learning curve.
Yeah, I'm free falling. Can you hear me calling for you? Yeah, I'm free falling. I'ma keep on falling for you. I'm free. Oh, and I'm loving all that you do.
What do you